right, so the first question says, what is the value? So it's asking me to find what this value is when I plug in all of these numbers into my variables. I'm going to go ahead and put this in Desmos, and to find Desmos, it's right here. You don't need another tab open. It's right there. Okay, and when you open it, you can go ahead and, you know, kind of make it bigger, smaller, whatever you need. But so I'm going to go ahead and type my expression. Now when it's talking about expression, it's talking about this right here. So I'm going to type it in exactly the way it is. So 5 cube root is right here under functions. You can scroll down. Cube root of a, I'm going to put a instead of plugging in the number right there. And then c square root of b plus 9. And look, once I type that, it's going to allow me to go ahead and plug in numbers. I'm going to press all, and then I'm going to change the numbers that it defaults to. So that's a is equal to 8 right there. C, now be careful here, c is -4, don't type the value for b. And then b is equal to 16. And then we're going to close this here, scroll up, it's equal to 35. That's about it. And I'm going to press this button again so Desmos can go back up there. All right, next question. It's saying which represents this expression in simplest form. So we need to do all of the laws of exponents and simplify this. So I'm going to do this by hand and maybe show you how you can confirm your answer using Desmos. So by hand, the first thing is right here, we're going to go ahead and multiply -2 times 3 because it's a power raised to a power. So that's 15x to -2 times 3 is -6 over. And then I'm going to leave this 3 alone. And then we're going to go ahead and multiply this. -3 times -4 is +12. And then from here, we can go ahead and simplify. We can do 15 divided by 3. So this the coefficient, you'll go ahead and divide it. So that's just 5. And then for the exponents parts, we're going to subtract it here. So -6 minus 12. We've been through these rules many times. So -6 minus 12 is -18. And then when you have the negative exponent, it drops down. So I'm going to keep the 5 at the top and then move this to the bottom. Okay? So that is 5 at the top, and that's the bottom. So I do want to go ahead and confirm my answer in Desmos. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and type my expression in here. Okay, just the way it is. I'm just using my keyboard here. Oops. Just confirm that it is, oh, no, see, I messed up here. So that's to the power of -4. All right, so I have this graph here, and it's graphed because I only had one variable. So I want to go ahead and see if I did my math right by just checking if my answers are equivalent by having the same exact graph. And look, it did. So if you kind of made some mistakes, like, you know, you subtracted here, like if you did 15 minus 3 and instead of dividing and you somehow got A, you can go ahead and type it in and just see if the graphs match. And look, that's the original, and the one that I thought maybe it was what didn't match. So that's a good way you can check your answers in Desmos. All right, question number 3. What is the quotient? So the word quotient here means division. Okay, so what is the quotient? So there's a lot I can do with this problem. I'd have to factor this out, but I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to do this in Desmos. We practiced a bunch of these in class as well, but I will show you, since this is a multiple choice, how we can maybe see which one is equivalent. So quotient means division. Okay, division. So in the numerator, I have 15x squared minus 8x minus 12. And in the denominator, I have 3x plus 2. I don't really need the parentheses, but it's right there. It doesn't matter. You can put it or you don't have to put it. Okay? But still, I got the same graph. So now I'm going to go ahead and see which one matches. Looking ahead, I can definitely see this is a linear, meaning that it's one of these two. This is a cubic function. This graph looks different. This is a quadratic. It has a parabola. Anywho, I'm going to go ahead and put either C or D. That's not it. That most certainly is right there. Okay, for the sake of this video, I'm going to leave it here. But in class we did practice how to factor this. So moving on. All right, so this question here is asking me to completely factor, guys. So like when it says completely factor, I would first go ahead and look at my numbers here and look for a GCF, greatest common factor. So in Desmos, to find the GCF, I'll go ahead and you can either look for it in here, or you can type GCF and then put a set of parentheses, and then you're looking for the GCF between 9, -39, and -30. So the greatest common factor is 3. So that is actually one of my factors. So I'm going to definitely click that. The rest of it, we're going to have to factor this out. But I do want to let you know that if you're looking for factors, Desmos does help you find it by thinking about the x-intercepts of the factors. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm plugging these in, and I know 3 is a factor. I don't see it on here, but it is. And then here's another factor, and here's another factor. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to just look at the rest of them and see which one matches with the same x-intercept. That sure does. Okay, but this is not going to be a factor because I can't click that because this one actually has that GCF added in it. So like if you look at this, 3 and 15, this has that GCF of 3. So I already chose it, so I can't choose it again. Okay, so these two cannot be it. But we have this. Sorry, I gotta sneeze. We have this that doesn't work. So look, it doesn't have the same x-intercept. So that one is definitely eliminated. This one's eliminated. That cannot be a GCF, and that cannot be either, because these still have a GCF. Anyway, let me go ahead. Oh yeah, so this little answer eliminator is very helpful to keep track of, you know, the answers you're looking for. All right, so 3x plus 2, that works right there. That's one of my answers. And I need to search for this. I'm sure it's x minus 5 since it's positive here and it's negative. The factor will be negative. And that's it. That's how I would do this problem, okay? So you will probably see a question where it says, like, you have to choose each factor. Step 1, look for the GCF. That's one of your factors. Step 2, choose the ones that don't have another GCF, like these two have GCFs in them, and then just graph and see which one has the same x-intercepts. Okay, and that's all I'm going to say about this problem. All right, next one. It says here directions. Okay, read the directions to see how they want you to answer this problem. Enter your answer in the space provided. Use numbers and symbols to answer your question. Got it. All right. So it says here, create an expression in simplest form, which is equivalent to this. Okay, so for the number part, 180, we know how to do this part in Desmos. So I'm going to go ahead and simplify that part first. So remember to simplify square roots. I'm going to do that little trick in Desmos. So 180 divided by x squared. And then we're going to go ahead and take this and then turn it into a table. Please press until you get to zeros on your Y column right here, okay? Once you get to here, you can stop pressing enter, but then go back up and find what it is. 6 on the outside, 5 on the inside. So far what I have is 6 square root of 5, okay? So that's the number part for 180. 180 simplifies to 6 square root of 5. X to the 9th power. So we're trying to take off as many squares as possible. So basically we're taking out as many 2's as possible. So x to the 9th can be written as, I'll just write it out for you real quick. X to the 9th can be written as if I'm taking out 2's, I need an even number in here, x to the 8 plus x to the 1. So if I were to take the square root of all of this, so this would be x to the 4th power, because there's 4 squares, x squares in here, and then this one stays inside. Okay, so on the outside I have x to the 4th, and then on the inside I have that remaining x. And then here, then since 16 is a perfect, it's an even number, so I can go ahead and take out 5 to the 8, because you're trying to take out as many 2's as x squared and y squares as possible. Oops. So, okay, hold on. I'm typing too fast. So y to the power of, again, you're going to do 16 divided by 2's. You want to see how many 2's I can take out, and I can take out 8 of them. And that's how I have to answer that. Guys, once you have come to this part, you can, if you want to like be sure you've answered this correctly, you can go ahead and type this in Desmos. So 180. If you press X, it's gonna graph it for you, but in this case I'm really not trying to graph anything. I want to see if they're equivalent, so I'm going to change X to like a different number, which is A, and then change Y to a different number, which is B. I'll show you why, so that I can plug stuff in. If I leave this as X and Y, it's not going to allow me to plug anything in. Okay, and then what am I plugging in? Well, I'm just going to plug some random numbers in, just because I want to check to see if they're equivalent. Alright, so my answer here, I said X was A. Again, if I press X, it's not going to allow me to graph it. I think I've already said that a billion times. I'm sorry for repeating. Look at that. And then square root of 5A. And check it out. They both are equivalent. So I know I did my math right here. So it's a good way to check your answers. Okay? And again, the only reason I changed from A and B is because X and Y, if I plug it in, X and Y, it's going to expect me to graph. It's not going to allow me to plug numbers in for X and Y. Okay? If you have any questions about that, let me know. Okay, it says, what is the simplest form? Alright guys, we're going to just do this in Desmos, alright? So, for the other previous problem, I put x squared, but since this is a cube root, I'm going to type my number. Alright, when you're typing your number in Desmos, don't use the comma. It's a whole number right there. It doesn't need the commas. Divided by x to the power of 3, since I'm looking for the cube root of this number, simplifying this cube root. Turn it into a table of values. Just press enter. Now you're gonna, since it's a big number, you might have to press for a bit here. Alright, so I'm up to the zeros, so now I can just kind of scroll up and find my first two whole numbers. So 12 on the outside, and then square root of 2 on the inside. That's it. Okay? Yeah. So this one is asking, for which value of x does cube root of, well, x simplified down to this? So basically, we're looking for this number under the radical. Okay, so we're going to have to pretty much cube root all of these and see which one simplifies to 5. Cube root of 7. I can do that. So I'm just going to erase everything. And then I'm going to start with A, 35, divided by x cubed. Do that. And then just press enter. Well, that's a lot. Anyway, if I go back up, I see that this is already simplified because if it's 1 and 35, that means it's already simplified. Do the same process for B. I'm going to do 245. And then go back up. Yep, 1 and 245. Yep, as in nope, that's not the one. 875 over x cubed. Okay, so I see